Hello.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back in the game.
Back in the game.
How's it hanging?
All right, pretty good. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a twingy back this morning, so I'm a little bit like. So like, if I sort of like just yelp every now and then, that's just because of my back, not because I'm too excited.
I'm sorry to hear it.
No, honestly, it's all good. But I'm hopefully we can find an AI solution to it.
Well, I was going to say, perhaps you might need a real person for that one, though.
Yeah, I'm sure that, I'll just rub ChatGPT on my back or something and see what happens. Take two pills of ChatGPT.
Like AI can't be a Pilates machine for you, can it?
Why? Why? Someone call Sam Altman and be like, bro, come on. The only solution we need is like, can ChatGPT go and do exercise for me?
Yeah. Okay, so welcome to Lantyn Labs. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'm Georgia Lewis-Anderson. I'm an AI consultant that's worked in AI for a very long time, writing the personality of robots. And now we run Lantyn Labs podcast and the company. And every week we build AI products to help us in our everyday life.
Yeah. And like, it's a way for us to sort of learn and figure out AI as we sort of like, as it evolves and we evolve. Mm-hmm. So yeah, also, by the way, I'm Omar. I was a creative director in advertising for the longest time, for about 15 years. Then I've been working at Facebook and Meta, and for the last couple of years, I've been knee-deep in AI, making everything from films to web experiences to real-world experiences, and really trying to understand like where the edge cases of it are in the space of AI. And
I've really been thinking this week about what you said about we're trying to pin the tail on the donkey, but the donkey keeps moving.
Yeah.
Because I feel so excited about things. Like there's so much possibility of the things that is within our grasp to make. But at the same time, it's kind of exhausting because they're changing constantly. Yeah. And, I think maybe it's the nature of being like entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I thought when I had my full-time job at Meta and I was setting up my own thing on the side, I thought leaving my job I'd have less to do. But now it's like I'm just so excited. But then also, you have to be in a constant state of learning. I think I was writing this talk yesterday about the most important skills to cultivate. Yes, it's critical thinking, but it's actually, you have to have like an openness. Yeah. Like what's the word for that? Like you have to be okay with making something and then that technology changing, like, because that's really annoying. Like from a human standpoint of like us liking routines and stuff. It's like, what is the word for that? Like the propensity for like
change, evolution.
Yeah.
Like honestly, the sort of like moving sands and that, like, pinning the tail on the donkey while the donkey's moving. Like I remember the first time I said that in a presentation, at a talk, and I was like it doesn't stop there. The donkey is moving. It's in the dark. And I don't even know if there's a donkey there. And I think I've just woken up in the backseat of my mum's car and she's shouting at me. Like it's every single day, everything is constantly moving. So, like I think that's sort of like, I keep thinking about like how you have to sort of like almost, you have to move away from your ego of like being able to sort of like go, I know the outcome of this action, which when you think about like what we've learned our entire lives, like I do this thing, then a thing happens. And in AI, like I started doing this thing, halfway through, everything changed. And then another halfway through, something else completely changed and radically like made the entire thing different. And now I don't even really need to do it because
there's a level of mercy and surrender along with, we think as humans that we carry on learning, but after uni, we do at work, but you have to really commit to like constantly upskilling yourself. And that takes time.
Absolutely.
And then, you have to have sort of surrender.
Yeah. And that, like, I think that's such a important, like, that's such a, when you just said that, like, you have to keep learning, like, after maybe about 2-3 years ago, I did a course at Oxford, their AI course. And it was one of the hardest things I did. Not because it was like really, really complicated, which it was super, super complicated, but my brain had not been used to like doing like regular like learning or regular sort of like methodical academic teaching and learning. So I'd like start like, you'd sort of like fire up the computer, get ready to like start doing your like course, and then suddenly I'd be like, I'm on a bus. Like, how did I get here? Do it again, be like, get home, do it again, suddenly be like, I'm in the beach and I've got an ice cream. How have I done that? And like, just my brain just would not let me sit down and like concentrate. But eventually, like, actually sort of breaking it down into smaller digestible chunks did that. And all I could think about was like, will they figure out if I like use an AI to do this? Mustn't, which I ended up not doing. But in my head, I was like, why am I doing this for? Like, this is so counterintuitive. Like, wouldn't I just get Alan to do this all for me?
I've seen you in meetings when the clock goes past like half an hour and you're like, calm it down. So I don't know how you did that. Yeah. Also, it's so funny that you said, can't I just get an AI to do that? Because when I worked for global technology companies, I'd be like, guys, can't we just, I was working on training the AI, you know? And I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a way that we can just get an AI to do this. And which is like, which you definitely shouldn't do.
Well,
actually, it was really helpful. I was like, come on.
Dude, yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, you know, because I remember hearing that thing about like not using AI to train the AI because then there'll be this thing called model collapse and stuff. And you're like, I don't think that's true, because as anyone, you know, there's an entire thing called synthetic data where it's made up data to then feed back into the AI. So that exists. So, you know, why would they not let us do that? But anyway.
Also, I mean, I touch wood, I didn't see any collapsing. And if it does collapse, it's not my problem anymore.
It's not my problem. Yeah. Hey, you bought it. Hey. You took it out of the shop, bro. Yeah. It's literally on you now.
Also, it doesn't feel like, I mean, it's somewhat synthetic, but it was actually more of it was a AI to do the research for the data and then a human to edit it. But yeah, just going back to the point of like the openness for learning something and then for having to suddenly have to upskill again and to not be frustrated about that. I guess it's a constant journey, like everything is in life. Yeah. I think an example of that for me was, for example, last night when you were like learning about agents while you're walking around. Yeah. And I was like sick, but I was also like, oh, okay, now I need to learn about that. Which was it's so exciting, but it's also kind of exhausting. Like I'm sitting here writing this talk, which is like top line AI introductions, because as we know, constantly when we go out and teach AI, we are like so far down the rabbit hole that sometimes you need to pull it back. And I'm almost writing these simple outlines and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I've got this on lock. And then, you know, you're learning about agents. And I'm just like, I have so much more to learn. And it's like, it's that constant struggle between like, I'm gassed to learn it and I can't wait. But I'm also like, I need a cup of tea.
Yeah. And, you know, I think like there's the purest wisdom is in that. Like, you know, even I, like, you know, when I was like walking around and I was spending an hour listening to someone like walk me through the very simple steps on like how to like connect one thing to another thing. I was like, it made me smile because I was like, I literally know nothing. Yeah. Like, even though I'm like, I'm stuffing my brain full of things, I'm like, I actually don't know as much as, like, I'll never have a grasp on everything. I will never know everything that I need to know about this space. So it's almost like, that's kind of like what makes it fun. Like, you know, you're kind of like, okay, I'll go learn about this thing now, and then I'll go and figure out something else. And I think like, there's a playfulness in that sort of way of learning that you just like, it doesn't feel like hardcore learning. But I think, you know, it's so important, the part that you're doing, like to actually go, you take these very high level concepts, like, you know, me coming in the door and like, I'm just trying to figure out agents, I don't know what they're doing. And you're like, yeah. And then you like digest that information, then you make it palatable for people and you make it understandable. And I think that in this time is like one of the most critical things to like do, because
yeah, but almost the simplicity of just making my deck look pretty, like generating images on Midjourney, that's so almost 2 years ago, do you know what I mean? Or like even figuring out just making the AI models of myself move. Yeah. It almost feels like it's like so old, and yet people still don't know how to do that, you know? Yeah. So it's,
yeah. And, you know, like it really makes me think, like, you know, that sort of like that, the critical nature of like having to continue to learn, upskill and grow. Like one of the like big pieces of news this week was, you know, the CEO of Ford was saying that, like, I mean, pretty much like, you know, Ford, Shopify, Klarna, and a bunch of other companies are like, all white collar jobs are going to be impacted. Like 80% of white collar jobs are going to be impacted by the AI, which I've got to be honest, like, I'm not 100% sure I buy that. And I think how much of that is like, you know, just before your earnings call, or how much of you said that just before, you know, you can like make your share prices go up a little bit because everyone thinks that you're not going to have any workers to like care about anymore. So I don't know how much truth I believe in that statement, but I guess the way to sort of like navigate your way around like this idea of like all white collar jobs are going to go, obviously like wear a t-shirt. Like, you know, I think like the interesting thing is like what is going to like make it through that, right? And there's so many different people, so many of my friends who do like, you know, everything from like hairdressing to tattooing to like gardening and actual real life outdoor things, as opposed to sort of like thinking based skills. So it's really interesting. Like one are, is it just that the current job market is going to change or like disappear and we're not going to be doing the same jobs? Or like, is this technology just going to make new jobs for us to do? Like, there's never been a time where we've made technology that like removes all jobs. So what's going to happen? And that sort of like idea of like, you know, not naivety, but like moving through by learning and growing. So when this time comes, like, should there be a time where like lots of jobs are impacted by AI? Like, how are we going to go through that? And I think that's a question that, you know, I think it's we can approach it with fear, which most like people do. Like, you know, most times you read anything in the news, it's like, oh my God, like the machine's coming, it's going to steal everyone's jobs. But actually, like, wouldn't it be better if we like stop to think about what we might want to do? Like, what if we do want to do something different? Like,
It's a very handy tool for employers to keep their employees on their toes and keep them scared. But I do understand why it's so scary. Like, you know, we were just talking about you're pinning the tail on the donkey when the donkey keeps moving. And then you're like, no, bro, like suddenly I'm in my mum's car and then I'm in Timbuktu. Like, you know, that was the analogy that you just used for AI. Like, no wonder people are absolutely pranked. Like, about, and it's so lovely to be able to like, okay, can we stop and actually think about what we actually have to do? But the reality is, everyone's trying to make ends meet out there. You know what I mean? Like,
that's it. And you know, like I think like when we think about how like you know, I was watching this thing in the morning where they were talking about there's a particular service that loads of people are now like using to make agents with, right? So agents are AIs that you can like give a task to, they'll go off and do it. So you can say like, you know, go and like book me a flight, and they will go and find you the best flight, and then they'll book it for you, which is amazing. And like, there's a lot of talk about how these agents are going to like, you know, suddenly take over loads of like the functions that humans do in the job market. And it's really interesting that like actually the amount of people who are like, you know, saying, oh, I've made, you know, 40, 50, 100K per month using these agents by my course, it feels the same thing that I saw with drop shipping. Like, if you're genuinely making that much money, at what point would you go buy my course so I can teach you how to do it? Like, that's absolute grift. So it's really interesting. There's a time we're like seeing this like absolute boom, and like, you know, the technology companies are talking about it, the press is talking about it, people are talking about how agents and agentic AI is going to be the next big thing. But yet there's a grift going on, and that always like is a really good indicator that perhaps this market isn't as healthy as we sort of like assume it is. Because would you need agents to do the function of humans faster if business doesn't move as fast as AI? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I guess there's always going to be people selling knockoff designer handbags.
yeah, that's basically it. That is the most perfect analogy for like what is happening in the agent world right now. It's literally people just selling fake Louis Vuitton and fake Gucci's.
Or like the fake Nike trainers with the like tick's gonna fall off.
Yeah.
Is the equivalent of that?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And it's really interesting because like, you know, like most of my feed now is like filled with like, well, very young people like talking about like, you know, how they've like, you know, scaled up their agent like business, and how they're now like all living in Dubai and stuff. And I'm like, okay, mate, like.
Yes, and yet though, because it's agent day today after we record the podcast, we're going deep learning about agents and gas like that. But yes, I feel you. It's the land of people selling fake designer handbags in the AI kind of like, you know, lawless climate. But at the same time, what about that meeting that we had where you know, you were saying we are in the era of having the 1 or 2 person $1 billion company, and that is going to be driven by agents. So the two things can both be true.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we're a big fan of like holding two truths in our head here, and I think you're completely right. Like, you will get the 1 person $1 billion company. It just makes sense. Like, there's so many things that you can get agents to do. I think the difference now is like, you know, I think your like moody handbag analogy is absolutely spot on. You'll have the real, you know, the real like actual agents, and then people like selling you versions of that agent. Because I guess what's really interesting for me right now is all of the agents that are being sold, like not on the black market, because it's not the black market. It's just like they're being sold. They're all being sold to do the same thing. So imagine the majority of agents that are being sold right now are basically to help automate like a video generation for social media, right? Now that's great. And obviously like these videos that people are selling, or like these agents that make videos that are really loved by the algorithm, well, that's great, but means that there's nothing but stuff being made that the algorithm likes. So we are just barreling towards beige. Like everyone's going to be making the same thing in the hope that the algorithm likes it, in the hope that then the algorithm chooses to show it to someone else. Now, again, like, I'm the same, like, even though I'm saying that, like, one of the things that I saw yesterday was just the best idea I'd ever seen. And I was like, one of those ideas you're like, I wish I'd thought of this myself. Like one of the biggest, one of the big popular like themes in AI video right now is Bigfoot. Bigfoot, like basically doing vlogging, and he's going places, and he's like doing everything from like, exploring like supermarkets in the US to sort of like, I saw one the other day where he was like on Wigan Pier, and he was trying to speak Scouse and stuff like that. Super, super interesting. But yesterday, there's a kid who was making one of these like Bigfoot like variants, but he'd figured out how to like design merch and then put merch on his AI Yeti. So now he's using his Yeti to sell his own merch. And I was like, that is a stroke of genius.
Yeah, I just thought, that clothing company that came to you recently, you should send that as a test to them.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Absolute no-brainer. And when you start thinking about like what can happen when you have like AIs selling merch, like it's limitless. And this like kid's just like, this kid, he's got like his LED like set up in his like bedroom, and he's like making videos about how to make these videos. But the fact that he then came up with, and then I've got my AIs selling merch for me because that's another revenue stream. I was like, that is the genius. Like that is, that's like generational genius. I think that's like a Gen Z, Gen Alpha thing that would have missed me completely.
Yeah. Okay. The AI wearing the clothes, it almost seems so simple. I'm like not shocked. Like that data that like Gen Z sees AI and they're not shocked because they've grown up with sci-fi. But then how do they get like? What's the click through? What, they've just got some shop, like if you like the t-shirt they get, he's wearing, just click to buy.
Yeah. And like, so he's doing click to buy, so you can literally just like, on YouTube, like just hit the button and buy the merch straight away. But he's also selling shout outs. So his character, the Bigfoot, will basically sort of like, you can like pay £10 to join, like subscribe to their channel, and then he'll make you a video of your name being shouted out by the Yeti.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You're just like, genius.
That's the kind of thinking of like, remember when the websites that somebody sold the pixels, and it's like such a short time that you could do it in, but like now's the time. And it makes me think people were quite gassed about just my video AI that I made yesterday. People were asking me how to do it. It's like, obviously I'm not going to, but if I wanted to take a week off and charge people 50 quid to make them an AI of themselves that takes me literally 20 minutes, it's like, do you know what I mean? It's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah, but that's it. Like, when we said, like, I love that, like, even in our conversation, we've just gone from like, oh, so dude, like, jobs are over. And you're like, well, okay, jobs might be over, but it seems like we've already invented like 4 ways to make more money. Like, that's magic, like, so.
And just going back to the handbag analogy, like there'll always be the people that are actually making the designer handbags, and then there'll be the people that are selling the knockoffs. And I think it just comes back to humans, like we always just want the easiest way to do something. Like it's the idea that I'll often buy non-fiction books, but I won't read them. But it's just the act of buying them. I'm like, well, I'm already smarter.
I'm already smart. I'll just buy osmosis. Like, I used to sleep with, sorry to interrupt you, like, it just made me think, like, I used to literally sleep with, I used to do the same thing, non-fiction books by the bed, in the hope that, like, if I just sleep next to them, the words will just go into my brain.
It's the same thing. Or like, even I think like, oh, I go to therapy, so but it's like, no, you have to do the work. I think AI offers this, it seems to be this magic sprinkle. Like we know how much inbound we've got from friends, family and business, because everybody wants to know how to sprinkle the magic, because they want the quickest, laziest way to do things. So, that's just, it just, I guess, inflames that part of humanity.
Yeah. And that in itself is just like, it's magic. And, like in this, like in what we're discussing, it really just makes me think like, we're revealing that sort of like layer of like post AI. Like we are in a post AI world, and one of the talks that we did, was it the workshop that we did yesterday? Someone was saying like, we've been using AI like for years, and I don't know why people are shocked. And I'm like, well, no, we haven't really been using it in the same way. Like we've never had a machine that you can just ask anything to and it just replies to you. Like that's magic. That's like, when you're talking about science fiction, I'm like, I remember that thing being like on Star Trek and being like, wow, no way. You can literally ask it anything and it will just reply to you about anything. And we have that now.
And now we have that,
Like, what do we do next? Like, in my head, I'm like, I've always been preparing for this time. Like, if I could talk to a machine and could talk back, this is going to be the best day of my life. which is why now, like, I've spent so much of my time talking to the machines that, yes, is really, it just makes me feel like there's an abundance of opportunity that's coming rather than like a lack of abundance or rather than a lack. But, who's to say I'm not the person who controls the machines.
Well, this is a podcast about AI, but it's also about personal involvement. And if we were going to go in down that road, I would say things are what you think they are.
Things are what you think they are. Yeah.
One thing before we talk about what projects we've actually worked on, which I thought we could talk about in our podcast, is our talk that we did about silliness.
Oh my God, yes, please, let's talk about that.
Yeah, we've mentioned some of the most important skills for the age of AI, but we went to an advertising festival.
Yeah.
It was very serious advertising people selling.
Very serious.
Basically selling the technology behind how you place ads. From what I understand, you're more of the ad guy around here.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were expecting our talk.
They were not expecting our talk. I think like what was amazing was like, it was MadFest. There was lots of people, especially like where we were, the AI innovation stage. Like every vendor there was like, selling some sort of ad tech that has like AI in it. Like find out like, which person lingered on your like ad for the longest, so you can like retarget them with like 15 AI ads and stuff. And it's like, okay, that's great, and that's performance marketing, and it's been around for a really long time. With Meta coming up with their like AI tools as well, like I don't know how long most of those people will be around, but I think one of my favorite things was like watching everyone on our stage just talk and share stuff, and the sort of like reaction being quite muted. Like there wasn't any sort of like injection of life or humanity in there. And so when we turn up and start talking about silliness as the sort of like key driver and the key secret of like thriving in a time of AI, I think one, it was super unexpected, but there's two things that I think are really important about it, which, when we talked about like this idea that machines can think literally, they think 1 to 0 really, really well. Humans think laterally, and they think, I'm going to sellotape a banana onto a wall. Like that is complete difference, but together we can make something super interesting, and I think that sort of space between us is what's wild.
And I liked, so essentially our talk was why the human API, why leaning into human silliness is the most important thing to get the most out of machines. We shared some of the projects that we talk about on here, everything from your Gutsville, which is animating your microbiome, to my AI getting the news for me and then reporting it in rap form. And I just think that, no one, I mean, obviously some people are out there, but it was very different from the quite heavy AI talk. So that was fun to disrupt a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I think like when what was one of my sort of like my key takeaway from it and my key learning from when we were like writing that presentation was I suddenly started thinking about like, in this time of like, these machines are going to like take over everything, that actually Terminator isn't going to be defeated by like us like having better guns or anything. It's by us being sillier than the machine. And it just made me think like, are we gonna like stop Terminator by tickling it? Like that's basically what's gonna happen. Like it's not gonna be like, oh my god, end times, oh my god, it's gonna be really terrible. Like the machine basically glitches out if you like try to make it do something that isn't like a very methodical thing to do. So
and when you think about it, because I went down that Albert Camus hole, because I started thinking about the philosophy behind the absurd, what silliness even means, and it means having a kind of ridiculous reaction to something, which is, humans by our very nature are irrational. And then I thought, okay, cool, the only reasonable reaction to the world that we live in, thinking about what humans really want and what the world and the universe can provide for us, is to be completely silly. And actually, when we talk about the scariness of the, let's be honest, tsunami of AI that is coming for these little sandcastles that we're building, the only reaction that I think makes sense to succeed is, yes, all the things we talked about, critical thinking, openness to learn, but it's also kind of just like throwing silliness at it from our hearts.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that also means that we're not being scared. It's almost like approaching fear with grace. But like even, like dancing through the fear, which is kind of being silly and just being like, this technology is so overwhelming. I'm just going to try and have the most fun with it.
Yeah. And, I think like that's literally it. Like, being able to sort of like, it feels like that sort of naivety of approaching it is the most sacred sort of silliness, right? Like actually sort of like being able to like look at this machine and go, of course it could be super overwhelming, but can you tell me a joke? And then seeing it sort of like, glitch out a little bit, and it's really, really funny. But, like I think that idea of like how we can be silly and how we can like use the machine to allow it to do all of the stuff that isn't silly, and we can return back to ourselves. And, you know, it makes me think, like, we're going to have more fun time. We're going to go to more ecstatic dances. Like, can I, like, go and, like, write on some, like, can I just, like, do chalk drawings on the floor?
Fam, don't pretend you're coming to ecstatic dance with me.
Yeah. No, but, like, the reason why I'm saying that is, like, so once the machines take over, then maybe I'll come to an ecstatic
We
dance.
need to have a bet about something, and if I win, you come.
You know what, like, I feel like, you know, we haven't, like, have we told everyone that we've been doing ecstatic dancing just before the recording of every podcast?
We haven't. But I do think it's improved the quality.
You know what? It's definitely improved the quality because I feel like all like limbered up and like jazzed up, and I'm like got rid of all of that energy, and I'm like I feel good. So, you know, like I feel like I've been to ecstatic dance twice with you now.
Well, just for the context, I have invented a new pre-podcast ritual where we listen to some music, we close our eyes, and we dance around.
We just dance around,
and it's nice.
It's amazing. Yeah. Honestly, like I think you know, even in that, like there feels like there's something magic in that, right? Like actually connecting with our bodies and connecting with our sort of selves before we then start talking. I think, you know, maybe there's something magical
also,
there.
if we're building like an organization, a business, whatever you want to call it, it comes down to what we want the culture to be.
Yeah.
And also our biggest thing, you know, are
no stand-ups, only dance-ups.
Yeah. And like we always think about what's your intention, bro? When it comes to using machines, and it's true, you need a moment to be able to think about what your intention is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Okay. So we're going into projects. After you, what are your thoughts?
My biggest takeaway this week was when we thought about what does the CV look like in the age of AI. I can't stop thinking about this.
Yeah.
So I had this potential big job offer for this company, and it was something quite interesting.
Yeah.
But they wanted to see some of the work that I'd done before, but obviously a lot of it is kind of, well, obviously NDA, but also in like CSV files. And it's like, how can you show someone prompting that you've done? And we had an interesting conversation about the future of the CV. And so I just started with, and I also did a prompting course recently for a company called Augment, along with one of the top guys that used to work at OpenAI. And he had made a customized GPT of himself that the company could talk to when they had questions. So, and I thought, okay, or maybe you suggested it. Anyway, so that's how it started. Basically, how do I transfer all of my career background and prompting knowledge into an AI that future employers can talk to about my work history? So I made that. I spent ages doing it, and then I spent ages making an avatar in Midjourney, which also taught me about how to get the character style references so it looks like you. So simple. People have loved it online.
Love that.
Just making a video of an AIU. And now, so I've got a large language model. I have essentially, for the listeners, like a chat GPT that you can talk to that's me about my career. But now I'm trying to work out how to hook it up to my the AI avatar of me. And I try to do it through this thing called HeyGen, which I use quite a lot. But that can't have the live reactions. It can only have the pre-prompted. So I can write a script and have it as me, and and online people can't tell the difference. But so far, basically, I'm trying to work out how to have that nuanced interaction. I'm not sure. Have you got any ideas?
You know what? I was just thinking about that while you were saying it, and I think that solution still isn't an off-the-shelf solution. Like I think like live reaction, so like where someone could type something in and then moments later would react in real time. I can't think of a service that exists right now to do that, but I imagine a lot of people are working on it. Because you can imagine like something like that being useful for so many different things, from customer service to healthcare, like, you know, primary healthcare provisions, etc. Like I think there's so many different things you could do with that.
Yeah, because obviously I've done it with the voice. I've hooked up Lantyn Labs and I can hear it in my own voice. But like it seems kind of mad that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It must be quite hard right now.
Yeah.
Like it just makes me think, I bet you companies like Synthesia or HeyGen are probably really, really looking at that.
Yeah.
Because I imagine like that sort of like, you know, the benefit of having a real-time person you can talk to is going to radically change things, you know?
And that's why, you know, I love these explorations we do, because sometimes they're frustrating and you meet a dead end.
Yeah.
And it's like, but this is a really good idea. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever had it when you think of an outfit that you want to wear that doesn't exist. Have you ever had that? You're like, and then you're like, on.
Is it black? Is it white? Or is it a bit of both? Basically right now. Yeah.
But like, Sometimes I think of something and then it doesn't exist in the, you know, it's like that. And it's like, we are in this age when AI feels like magic. People think it's magic. And even me working in AI, I thought it had better capabilities than it did.
Yeah. And, you know, it really reminds me of like one of the conversations we heard yesterday from a guy who does like, he's, you know, I can't remember the name of the company, but he was the CEO of a non-profit AI teaching organization that like does, you know, so much like, you know, heavy lifting on teaching people AI. But what was interesting was like when he started talking about like what his main problem was, and it was like managing the expectations of people that he goes and teaches, because people think that it can do everything and it can't. It's the same thing. I'm like, you know, that I don't really believe that like AI, while we're like all sat around like going, it's going to take all of our jobs. I'm like, I don't know if it will. Like in the sense of like, I haven't seen anything from it that it's like, it's so devastatingly good at everything that it can do that. And, you know, obviously I feel like now, as I said that, I was like, am I describing AGI or am I describing you know, like artificial general intelligence, where a machine will be generally intelligent. So no matter what you ask it, it will be intelligent. Maybe when that comes, like, and I'm like now like thinking, well, God, like an AGI might be the solution to that, you know?
Yeah, when it comes. Oh, it's the same. I remember there were some studies in my old workplace about young people using AI and then being frustrated that it didn't have the capabilities of the sci-fi films that we grew up with.
Yeah.
It's like when babies touch a newspaper because they think it's a script, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
those babies.
those silly babies.
Definitely idiots.
Let's hear about one of your projects.
Okay, sweet. Look, I'm just going to refer to my notes because I made some and I just want to see like which ones I was going to tell you. Okay, so my main thing this week, which I'm really excited to share with you, is I had a lot of conversations with people this week about TV. Now, it's really interesting for me because I feel really good about this, because most references now I don't know, because I haven't watched TV for years. Like, I don't own a TV, got no interest in watching TV shows, or like, I don't even think I have time to sit down to watch TV shows, or not in the same way, right? But then I started thinking, like, hold on a minute, like with Google's VO3, and they're finally having like an API release, which, you know, API just basically means I can get one machine to talk to another machine to make something happen. I started thinking, I was like, is this the time that I can finally make my own Netflix? And then I did. So I made my own Netflix this week. It was really interesting. And what's interesting about making your own AI Netflix is that how it works is I go online onto this website that I made, I type in what I want, and then it makes me like a very small TV show, like a 1-minute TV show about that idea, right? First thing I made was my favorite thing about all of like, you know, the global talent shows is the auditions. So I just like made an AI, like basically like Britain's Got Talent, but like only the auditions. And it is, I mean, for me, it was really hilarious, like the AI trying to sing and then getting it repeatedly wrong over and over again. The next show I made was like a business pitching show where these AIs were trying to pitch ideas to other AIs. And again, it's the hilarity of like, they're like complete, like they've got it so wrong. Then I made a game show as well, which was super interesting. And it's like everyone on the game show is either a contestant, and that contestant is trying to win £1 million. And you just sort of end up, what I ended up with, like just like maybe like half an hour of like, you know, just all of these like small shows. And I was like, is this the future of entertainment then? Like, is this what's going to happen? You know, when like, you know, I think so many people are working on similar ideas of like, if I could just type in an idea and it would make me the movie. And I realized I don't have the patience to sit through an entire movie. I do like flicking the channel. So is the AI, like, is it better for me to start by making AI TV that is basically just channel flicking, like intergalactic cable from Rick and Morty? Or should I make an entire, like, you know, hour and a half film, and then what if it's rubbish? Do you know what I mean? And my brain like wants, I want to like skip the button like as quickly as possible. Like, what's on this next one? What's on this next one?
Okay, devil's avocado.
Yes, my favorite avocado. Yeah.
I think it's sick. I love the concept behind it, and obviously it's brilliant to because actually sometimes we spend so long deciding what to watch, and it is a great kind of model to prove the capabilities that like loads of people would not have thought of and don't understand. Like that is the level we're at with AI video creation. You can make your own bloody Netflix. Like that's mad. Like great concept. this is where the avocado comes in.
Hello, avocado.
Hello. What about like, you know, the art of script writing and filmmaking?
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's like, would you not say like, I don't watch that much TV, but sometimes I'll watch like a really good drama or a really good rom-com.
Yeah.
And I'm like, someone has written that, filmed that, got it pitched, you know, the human story. And it's interesting, like we're in this age now. I remember one of the first talks I did was about music and AI, and we were talking about, can an AI musician ever really make someone feel something? Like we love Adele and Taylor Swift because they're singing about real relationships, and would an AI singer ever inspire those same feelings? And that was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and now we're seeing our propensity for AI generated content. Like we don't really mind now. Like the stats are showing with like loads of people, like we don't care if it's AI or not. We kind of just want to consume the content. Which I guess is a plus for like what you're talking about. But I guess, yeah, you know, there's something about the art of watching something that's been made by humans. Like, do you kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
In the roundabout way?
100%.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think like what would be the most beneficial thing would be like a hybrid system, right? But then I keep thinking about like how many times I've watched reruns of Friends, and I'm like, do I really care about like human touch TV? Like, well, I've watched Frasier, for example, for nearly 2 decades, and I love that, right? Like, do I really care? Like, if a machine could make like another season of Frasier, like a pre-season, would I care that it wasn't? So I guess the thing is like, you know, that's like one thing. I think the important thing is like stories that people can relate to, right? And you know, one of the things that's really sort of like changed with my own sort of like filmmaking has been telling a more human story that people can connect with. And now, like, you know, we've gone from like just sort of demonstrating what an AI can do in terms of filmmaking to making AI films that people connect with. And all of the comments underneath have just suddenly turned these films into magical cultural artifacts, like people recognizing like, oh my God, amazing, that's exactly what Southwood was like. Oh my God, I recognize that rave, or like, you know, I felt like that when I double dropped, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, these are people's stories. So what's been interesting is like, I was having a chat with someone yesterday about like, is it the film that has meaning, or is it the person watching the film that gives it meaning? So, you know, even that, like, you know, when you see something like, you know, those sort of like my most sort of like current Crackney films where, you know, London is being distorted. There's no street that is the right way around. The cars aren't even moving the right way around. Even though visually it's wrong, but people connect with it because is that like then the meaning? Make it the thing?
And that's what I think I was going for with the avocado. Okay, you are watching a Netflix that you've made. So you are watching you expressing yourself back to you.
Yeah.
But when we watch like a collective experience, whether it's friends or whatever, it's somebody else's expression that we are soaking in. So is there a danger in the same way, you know, like YouTube like lends itself to people going down like rabbit holes, which can in the worst case scenario lead to like radicalization?
Yeah.
Is there a danger that we just start navel gazing? Because I know like social media companies are thinking about like personalized AI generated content, which means we would get on a feed and we would only see stuff that has been AI generated for us, and whether we really want that or not. And, you know, the argument that we absolutely don't. But with your AI Netflix, there might be a world where, yeah, we are all watching our own AI stuff. And so it's almost like isolating.
Yeah. Oh, massively, massively. And that's what, like, you know, that's why I think like when I started making these like shows, I was like, they've got to be funny enough for me to want to send them to someone. Like, that's the same way like normal TV works, right? Like I remember like Breaking Bad, only really like anyone spoke about it, then started watching it on Netflix. Like Netflix didn't like publicize it to me. They didn't push it to me. Maybe they did, and I just didn't recognize that they were doing that. But I remember people telling me about it. So the same way that when I see a funny meme, I'll send it to my actual friends and then we'll laugh about it. It's the same thing. Like I'm thinking, could AI TV or AI generated content on, you know, like on AI Netflix, for example, I'm going to stop calling that because I don't think they'll be very happy about that. Could that like do the same thing? Like, could we have like a shared experience around that content? Could we make AI content that is deliberately made so it has to be shared? Like, what if like, you know, you watch, like if we both watch one show, what if like one of the characters says something slightly different in each one of our versions? So when we're talking about it, and like, oh yeah, he was definitely wearing a blue hat when he said da 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 da. And you're like, no, he didn't. It was this, that, and the other. So, you know, can we make AI to connect us? Because that's what it all like comes down to. Like when I think about it, like you're right. Like when you're describing like feeds full of content that only I like, my blinkers will be on. Like we will be literally living in that picture of like, everyone having VR goggles on in rooms full of actual humans, but no one being actually able to connect or communicate with each other. So what happens when we turn AI to sort of like help us rather than like...
And will AI generated clips become the new, you know how like podcast series now get turned into actual TV shows? They're almost a testing bed. Like a woman who was at our
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
thing we were having yesterday was like, oh yeah, I use AI to like get the concept of a pitch across. So it's almost like you can show, you know what I mean? You can make so much of the offering in a way, or like if, you're in this algorithm that I'm not in of AI film, like that's what we were talking about last night. Like, all the AI film trends and I'm on the like AI content girlies.
Yeah.
And so, is there a world where something pops off online that's AI generated and then it gets the Hollywood backing to make it into a whole thing or something? It becomes the new testing bed.
You know what? Honestly, I hadn't even thought about that, but I feel like what you just said is going to be prophetic, because I think people there will literally be like, even the Yetis that we were talking about at the beginning, like that could easily roll out into a full TV show and then a full series.
Yeah.
And what happens when you get like, TV writers and TV production behind that, and actually way bigger, like, not financial investment, because the product now it doesn't cost money to make the actual film, but making it good, that's going to be the real difference, right?
Script
like
writers.
like really great script writers, really great DOPs, like actually really great, the entire filmmaking profession, like all that really just happens is like it's the changing of the tools. Like, okay, like everyone is like, that's why I don't think like right now, literally up until you just said that, I was like, there's no way that AI is going to be able to like do anything in terms of like become a part of culture, right? Like are we ever going to see like an AI show become a part of culture? My heart says no. My brain says, what about Crazy Frog? And I'm like, okay, maybe we will see like, memes make it into culture at that level. But you're right. Like, how do we get humans to push the machine to its nth degree, to its edge cases?
But I guess like Crackney became a little bit of culture on a little corner of the internet that celebrates jungle. It's like maybe the Yetis will become like the new Rugrats, or it will just be like, one of them will take off and then it will become like an Apple TV series that gets funded like behind the idea with real actors or something.
Yeah. No, I think you're completely right. And I think when you said that, I can literally see that happening. And I'm like, I'm just going to go down and finish Gutsville. I just need to like get my gut TV up.
Yeah, I mean, that is a really good idea. Yeah, and like also that could be an app, by the way. That people, right? Like you must have thought about that.
I mean, to be honest, like, so because the way that like my first version worked, and I'd done one of those tests, so I knew what bacteria was inside me. An app feels like the best way to do it, right? Like imagine an app that it would tell you what bacteria is inside you, then it will like log what food you've eaten, and then go like, Omar, here's 4 of your bacteria. Going like, bro, you need to stop doing that.
You know what? It's not that dissimilar to, I was talking about my dream capture content, which is an AI that decodes your dreams. And friend of mine was saying that would be great, an alternative to social media content if you could just see what people are dreaming of in the morning, you scroll through it. What if you could scroll through people's animations of their gut microbiomes? Like, that's just jokes. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely love that.
Yeah, it's like personal AI generated content as the new social media and as a way to connect. Because then like
my God, I love that.
I've seen like, oh, like you had a kebab last night, gutted, bro.
Yeah. There's like honestly, I absolutely love that. Like, there's such an incredible concept of like rather than like going, I'm seeing my own feed, it's like you're seeing something so personal inside me that it's actually hilarious. Because even when you were saying that, I was like, wow, like right now it's almost like all of the bacteria basically being interviewed like a vox pops. So they were like, someone's like holding a microphone to them and like asking like, what do you think? And he's like, oh, Omar's eating some more like bad stuff again. Like, hey, I'm gonna get really inflamed, bro. But it just suddenly made me think like, what if I turn it into a soap opera? And what if the characters came back? And what if they like fell out with each other? Like, that's all like layered story.
That's all happening inside you.
That's all that's happening inside me. And then like imagine if you could like keep up with that and just be like, what's happening inside Omar? Like, I'm like, oh man, I'm complaining, I haven't slept. And you're like, yeah, but I saw like your bacteria like being really upset.
It brings narcissism with AI personalization and entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's the same thinking with the dream stuff. And it comes back to something I think we said last week or the week before, how do we make self-care as fun as possible?
Yeah.
And it's like, using AI to articulate it, but also to connect with each other.
I think that's profound.
Yeah.
You know, and like, could you talk to my bacteria? Could your bacteria, like, is there a way for us to sort of like have microbiomes talk to each other? Because why would...
And it could become a competition in the same way that my screen time thing was. Like, it was a competition.
Oh my God, I'm so here for that.
Between people to see who could have the least screen time.
Yeah.
What if it was an app to see like whose AI character of their microbiome you could make the happiest?
Yeah.
It's almost like your gut microbiome are Tamagotchi. Do you know what I mean? But you're all like competing to see. Yeah.
God, I love that, and especially like that idea of a Tamagotchi. Like, imagine if you literally had to look after your insides, but like it was just externalized into a character. Like, even though it's me, and I'm now like, would that be like a parasocial relationship with yourself?
Well, talk about the inner parent.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're completely right.
Inner child, I mean. Yeah.
Oh my God, like, that is wild.
Yeah, maybe. Can I give you a job this week? How can you use VO3 or any kind of software to bring to life your inner child and look after it? So sweet. So sweet.
Yeah, honestly, like, I was telling someone the story of like the first time I went on an outing with my inner child. It was like, it was like the weekend after I was like first made aware of the concept in therapy. And my homework was to go and take my inner child to a toy shop and buy anything that I wanted. And it was the best day of my entire life, because I went to Hamleys and I literally I took my inner child's hand and I was like, you can buy anything you want in there. You go crazy. I've got the credit card. Don't worry about it. And then we bought so much stuff. Got a train set, got some Legos, got some computer games. It was the best day of my life. Because then I came home and played with it. So in this sort of like thought of like, how can we sort of like help, or how can we use AI to like do better in parenting? I think there's like mass amount of like potential.
Yeah. I gave my inner child a cuddle this morning in my meditation in the garden. It's nice. Yeah.
I love that so much.
Okay, should I tell you what project I've been up to? I'm not slowing down, but I'm just trying to focus because I know what we're like. We're ADD brains that have millions of ideas. And I really want to just like activate some things. So I introduced the concept of the Capture Universe last week, and it's a dream capture app that I've been working on for a super long time, which is an AI that decodes your dreams. I've pushed it as far as I possibly can on Replit. I've tested out all the different backends. I've stuck with ChatGPT from a personality standpoint and format. It is the best for what I want. Because a design like this, I suppose it's a personal development spiritual app. It's not like your out of the box Replit thing. Replit is a vibe coding platform where you can talk to the machine like you do ChatGPT and build an app. Basically, the design is just not it. And I've been trying to use Claude actually to decode the language so I can prompt in the language of web design, which does not come naturally to me. And the whole point of vibe coding is that you don't have to know that, but I've got to the point where I do. And you just said, why don't you hire someone to help you? So that's where I'm at.
Amazing.
I found someone on Fiverr. She seems really cool. I've like put together all my references of like, cool spiritual apps, and she's going to make it for me by the end of the week. So I'm excited. And again, it's just like we've hit that edge. Also, what I'm really excited about is that she's making it for me in Figma. And then now, just yesterday, and it's so funny because you sent me that thing yesterday, and literally the day before I was researching, can I turn the Figma, PDFs or
design. Figma layers.
Figma documents into an actual app that you can code, and then the next day you sent me that thing, which you can. So I'm really excited about that.
Honestly, and I'm so over the moon that like, because it's been really interesting, like, because I've heard about the Capture Universe, like not from misconception, but like I've heard about it for a while, and like seeing you sort of like slowly and very deliberately like move through different bits and not just sort of like go, I just want to get to the end quickly as possible, like actually building it methodically and like learning and iterating has made it a brilliant project. But like you said, like at some point you sort of like go, there's a skill that's outside of my skill set, and even though I try to get the machine to do it, it doesn't feel right.
It's like I could sit there because I know what I like, but I just don't know how to get there. And I'm like, it's great to learn. We were just saying it's really important and stuff, but it's also like you just said, but is it actually worth your time? And actually, it reminds me of a conversation I had yesterday with someone at the workshop we were at. She said that she didn't think AI was that good for certain tasks, and then she moves on. But I was imploring her to go back a few months later and try it again, because I do see that as a gap when we're talking or training people about AI. They use one product once and then they're like, oh, it doesn't work, and they never go back.
Yeah.
But actually, you don't realize that on that journey of building dream capture, I've like built one version and then I've like gone back, and it's like, whoa, the capabilities are so much better. And I think that's something that people really aren't understanding about these products.
Yeah. And, you know, I think like you're completely right. Like, you know, it's the donkey in the dark. You know, the donkey is actually sort of like trying to get to the next sort of like iteration of like how easy it's going to make your job. But when we start thinking about like all of the things that just keep changing, it's really interesting when you think, God, like how much of stuff is going to just be internalized? Like, you know, we know ChatGPT 5, well, GPT 5 is just around the corner. What's that going to look like? You know, the sort of like the rumors are that it's going to be AGI, so it's going to be generally intelligent. So you'll be able to talk to it about anything, and it'll be smarter than like, you know, smarter than me basically. I can't think of like the silliest person I know. Like, but like, you know, like it will be smart as a human in so many different ways. So what does that look like? And you know, when I think about, you know, I think the most important thing as we're building this stuff out, it's like what I've absolutely loved about witnessing you build the capture universe is that at no point does, when there's a new AI that comes out whose features or capabilities are 10x from the previous one, does it make your idea redundant? It only makes it better. And I think that is the key thing for anyone listening to sort of like when they're building stuff with AI, is like, is what you're building going to be made better by the next AI, or is it going to be made pointless by the next AI? And if you're building stuff that's only going to get smarter the smarter the AI backend is, that's a brilliant thing to be building, because you're right. Like, imagine when the next version comes out and dream captures like, you know, 3 or 4 times smarter, or can make even better links across like, you know, different like meanings of like esoteric meanings of dreams and stuff, and who knows what it can do. You know, I think it's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's nice that you're saying that, and thank you. But also, I do just need to get it out now, because in the same way we did a workshop yesterday and 2 groups came up with the same idea because it was a really good idea. And, you know, the idea of like creativity lands, and when like something is in the zeitgeist, it comes out, and it's sometimes just the first one to do it. I've seen a couple of things online now, like it's a good idea, and I just like, it's like a race now. So I'm saying it, it's happening. It's exciting.
And you know, like that's the best thing. Like, you know, you just keep iterating. Like, you know, like dream capture version 1, version 2, version 3. Like, you know, what's version 5 going to look like? Is it doing the dreaming for you? So I'm really excited for you. I can't wait. And my project, my thing that I haven't built yet, but I started thinking about, is almost to sort of like help me facilitate getting to dream capture, because my sleep has been all over the shop over the last like few weeks, and I've really been thinking about like, okay, you know, when I talk about it, the first thing anyone ever says to me is like, oh, how's your sleep hygiene? And I'm like, it's terrible, bro. I'm like, I've got 4 screens, I'm listening to stuff, I'm eating sugar, I eat late, like all of the things that really are the reason for why I'm not sleeping are the reasons why, you know, like I know all of the reasons, right? So I started thinking about this, and I was like, how do I build something? So like, you know, like almost my first reaction now is like, can I build something to help me sleep? Like, what does that look like? A little while ago, I had a Whoop. Oh, I do have a Whoop downstairs. But my Whoop, like if I wasn't getting consistent sleep, it would basically like start sending me like bedtime stories. And they weren't like vocal, like I would still have to read them and stuff. But I just wonder, I can't stop thinking about like, is there a way to get a machine, or so when I say machine, I mean AI, like how do I get an AI to actually help me sleep? Not by giving me a checklist, because obviously checklists don't work for me. I've had a checklist for a million years and it just doesn't work. So is there a way? And I don't know why, like, you know, it's more like a question now, like, you know, but what could a machine do to help me sleep? Like, because I was thinking like, and I wasn't thinking about like, you know, it like entertaining me, or like it using binaural sounds or any of that, because again, that does never feel as effective for me. But the other week I was listening to a sleep story from an app called Calm, and it was talking about, oh, like in the sleep story, it's great, and he's like walking around like some particular like space. I think it's like in Easter Island, and I'd never got to the end of that. I've never got to the end of that story. I'm like, I wonder why. So this time I just skipped to the end, or like skipped to like beyond halfway, and it's so boring. And it's really deliberately boring. The man has a very great voice, and he's being boring. And he's like, and then I looked at this thing, and then this other thing happened, and I was like, oh my God, do I need to like make an AI bore me to sleep? Like, what, like, is that the way around? Like, rather than it like entertain me or make me feel calm or make me feel relaxed, like, could it bore me to death?
Also, for the writers, it would be great if you could prove that AI writes the most boring stories in the whole world.
Yeah. Honestly, and the thing is, like, so my 2 tests this week, which I've done, have been how do I feel like in different spaces when people start being boring? And I think you said it earlier, like if a meeting goes over 30 minutes, like it's really hard for me to sit still. And in some of the conversations that I was in, over the like workshop yesterday, and another thing like last week, like there were particular times where like people were saying stuff, and I just hit that level of boredom, and I was like,
I know the exact meeting you're talking about. I could see you, and I was like, we need to get out of it. Yeah.
He's gonna get up and start walking around in a minute. But like, like even that, I was like thinking like, when I thought about that, like last night, I was thinking about, I was like, do I need to make a meeting simulator that I just like
practice?
Yeah. Like, could I sit in an AI meeting and it'd be so boring that I fall asleep?
Avocado.
Please,
Devil's avocado. I think, your sleep hygiene is like abysmal. And yeah, cool, you could make something that could bore you to sleep, and I love the thinking behind that. But really, you just kind of need to be your own parent and be like, there are absolutely no screens from this time. And why don't you just try that and like actually try shutting your brain off rather than turning it on anymore to help you sleep.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the meeting fidgeting, you could join me in the garden for meditate.
Maybe. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And like, maybe then the solution is like actually having like a sleep parent, or like, someone who's like a trusted voice that you're like, okay, I know that this is going to happen. Could I build a reward system into this like machine that could like reward me for sleeping? Because honestly, like the reason how I ended up quitting smoking and then vaping was because of this app that literally just like I would have to pick an emoji every single day.
Maybe you could have, if you could build something on it and if you can prove that you didn't use any devices after 10 p.m, it like saves a $5 or something. And then when you reach like X amount, you can like buy yourself some kind of like, long sleeve designer t-shirt that you like.
I'm very specific.
That kind of thing. Yeah, like some streetwear, blah. But like maybe and like maybe you could see the like money growing, or as you go. And like if you've like slept well for a month, if you haven't used your screen past 10 p.m. for a month, then you get it. And if you don't, then you go, but then it goes back.
Oh my God, I already want to win. Like, honestly, like I said, like every day on this app, I'd get to pick an emoji. And the first day I had a 12 streak, and then I broke it. And then I felt so bad watching all my emojis disappear. I was like, I'm never, ever going to fail this ever again.
I mean, it's kind of a shame because I can't remember who I was talking to about this the other day, but like basically we're hacking the system. Like the world around us has evolved faster than our human bodies can. And so therefore we're feeling tired. We've got bad backs. We can't sleep properly, So now we have to create like hacking systems to hack the system that's not working for us in a way.
Yeah.
But really it's about truly coming back to yourself.
Okay.
And like loving yourself, parenting yourself, being a bit more present, not using a screen. But also I kind of love this experiment of like the thing that's,
Yeah, I love that. And like, like it just sort of like made me think like, like if you could make your phone like turn off at 10 o'clock, that'd be great. If there's a way to like, I think I probably need a softer way in. Like, I'm like, could I make my phone only be boring after 10 o'clock? Like, all the colours go, like, it doesn't let me open certain things. I don't know what it does.
It's like you have to respect that rest will make you... It's even like, I finished making a video last night, but I didn't want to send it to you at 11 because like that is just... We've got to have boundaries. And like stuff is so exciting at the moment. Like we could just work and work and work. But you have to be... It kind of just... It just comes back to
you're right.
that,
Yeah, you're right. And it's like, it comes all the way back to the inner parent again. And I'm like, okay... when I think about like how important like the AI mum I made has been for me just in general, like I think having that sort of like, a parental, even virtual parental support might be the secret, So it might be like, maybe I'll ask like my AI mum to sort of like, just like check in on me at 10 o'clock and be like, have you gone to bed yet? Or maybe she can like shout up the stairs. Get to bed, Omar. But like anyway, so it's gonna be a fun week. That's what I'm looking forward to next week.
Cool. All right.
Amazing.
All right. Well, I guess I'll see you next time.
I'll see you next time, right? Fantastic. See you in 20 minutes. Yeah. All right. Fantastic.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.